So here we are, let's do our first little video clip, and this is going to be on the oil paint, pigment, and color, the palette setup. I've noticed in a lot of these how-to painting shows, they tell you what colors to select and they tell you how to do everything. They don't really give you a background of why you're doing what color and the need for that color. One thing that can be really dangerous in painting is having too many colors on your palette. Actually, it's called a limited palette, and a limited palette is much better for creating a harmonious painting. If you get too many secondary and tertiary colors on your palette, when you mix these and you add mix, you're going to get mud. You're going to get colors that don't work. So I really advocate a small palette. When I was in college, I painted with 3 primary colors and white. And that's what we painted with for several years. Now I use a palette that consists of 2 things that are very important in paint: transparency and opacity. So I have 3 primaries that are transparent and 3 primaries that are opaque. So what we have then is we have Indian yellow, which is a transparent yellow, and I have alizarin permanent, which is my transparent red. Then I have yellow, cadmium yellow light, which is my opaque yellow, and I have a Lucas red, which is a cadmium red deep, medium. Also, I have a white that is opaque, titanium white, and I have a white that is fairly transparent, which is called a zinc white. Also, for my blue, I only use 1 blue, and it's what we call a semi-transparent. It's not really transparent, it's not opaque. It's somewhere between the opacity and transparent scale. And this is called phthalo blue. I also use Payne's gray as a tinting agent, which is a transparent black. So now I have my opaque and my transparents. When I'm mixing my color, I'm thinking in terms of lights and darks and warms and cools. Transparent colors have a tendency to make better, richer darks. Opaque colors make stronger lights. So, just a few things like this will help you to understand your color mixing and add mixing. So when you set up your palette, I'm not going to tell you what to use, but I would advise you use with the system of thinking of transparency and opacity and just using primaries. If you get into secondaries and stuff, you're really going to know your color. You really have to understand color theory. So now let's talk about the paint itself. The worst thing that most beginning painters do, or even some advanced painters do, is they buy cheap paint. You can't buy cheap paint. Cheap paint is like, painting's hard enough by itself. Why shoot yourself in the foot with a really crummy paint that you just can't get the tinting strength? And if any of you guys have ever tried that, and you've used cheap red, for example, and you just can't get that red in the rose or the red of whatever, it just can't get that color, it's because you don't have enough pigment. What happens with the student grade, that's what they usually call a cheaper paint, is the student grade paint is only about 30% pigment. It's 50% extender, or these can vary, but it's a lot of extender in it, which is maybe an aluminum hydrate or aluminum silicate or a clay. But it's a neutral, no color, inert material, and then they use oil as the binder. So you're really just getting a little bit of pigment in this student grade paint. So you really want to go for professional grade paint. With professional grade, you're getting pigment and oil. Oil paint, by the way, the thing that makes oil paint is the binder. Oil is the binder. In acrylic paint, the acrylic is the binder. That's why it's called acrylic paint, which acrylic is a polymer. In egg tempera, egg is the binder. So pigments stay the same. Even your car, if your car's red, it's probably the same base raw chemical that makes the red paint for an artist material. It may be a lower grade, but pigment is pigment. So this is really important when you're buying oil paint or any kind of paint. Buy professional grade that's pigment and binder, not full of extender. This is really important. It will make you a better painter. Guys, hopefully that gives you some input. That's our little blog on paint. We'll go into other things down the road, like medium support, which this is on Belgian linen. There's canvas, linen, panels, all kinds of things that actually affect the way you paint. All of these things are tools of the trade for the painter. The more you understand these, the stronger your vocabulary is as a painter, the more powerful paintings you can make. I hope this gives you some insights, and keep on painting.